was going to remind you, Michaela, and you already got it. So good afternoon, everyone. As Michaela said, I'm Mindy Dilly, she, her, hers, and I'm the Associate Director of Student Involvement. I want to apologize. Everything that could have gone wrong in the past hour has for me. So my computer wasn't working, my mouse wasn't working, my camera wasn't working. So we got it figured out. But normally I would have had music playing and things, and I also was finishing my snack and drinking my Gatorade. So, but I am excited to be here. Some of you, I know several of you have actually already seen my very similar presentation that I've done the past couple sols. It's just called How to Recruit New Members and Retain Them. That recording is on the Student Involvement YouTube page. And maybe if my colleague Michaela or Blaine wants to try to snag that link, we can throw it in the chat later. There'll be similar topics, but this is different. So in case you're like, wow, I really want to look more into that, that recording is available for you. But I figured there'd be some people here who had seen that presentation once or twice or 3 times. So I kind of switched it up a little bit. So I always start all of my presentations with a little bit about me. I think that kind of helps you understand like where I'm coming from and maybe why you should be listening to me at all. Like I said, my name is Mindy Dilly, she, her, hers, and I have been at UMSL about 5.5 years. Holy smokes. After my 5-year, I got this certificate actually right here. Woo! Not even a free lunch. But anyway.
Yes, I'm sorry. Like 2 seconds, I'm right there.
We're gonna go ahead and mute. Okay, perfect. Technology is hard. You know how many times I've done that in a class? It's super embarrassing. But so my undergraduate degree is from Missouri State University. I have a bachelor's in science and communication and one in chemistry. And my master's is in higher education administration, also from Missouri State. So go Bears. If any of you have met Dakota, our other colleague here in the office, he's also from Missouri State, so the Bears are taking over, but we love UMSL. I then worked at Oklahoma State University as the Associate Director of Student Conduct, and I mostly worked with Title IX type of gender-based violence stuff. So as you can imagine, kind of I want to say negative, but I was meeting with survivors of sexual assault, and it was very heavy, and I wasn't someone people looked forward to meeting with, and that's just not my personality. So after that, I went to Nebraska Wesleyan University. I was there about 4 years. That's actually where I met Michaela. I believe I met her while she was there at orientation. I was like tabling for the Center for Student Involvement, so we go way back. And there I was the assistant director of student involvement. So small school problems, I got to do everything, but that kind of led me to here at UMSL, and I did begin as the coordinator of fraternity and sorority life. So I think that's kind of the piece that makes me capable of talking about these things. And I am a recruitment specialist for several national organizations. I've traveled across the country to consult with chapters, chapter leadership, organization leadership about how to recruit new members to those organizations specifically. But also, as my next slide will kind of show you, ooh, I went way out of, hold on. Don't look, you're ruining it. I don't know what happened. As you see from this next slide, I am just a natural people person. If you've done Myers-Briggs, I'm an ENFJ. Those middle, the middle strengths there, those are my top strengths. If any of you have done Strengths Quest or Strengths Finders or whatever they're calling it today, all of mine are mostly in like the relationship building domain. That's my leadership style. That's how I enjoy mentoring and developing and encouraging other folks to kind of live up to their potential. So we'll just start off with that I kind of do know what I'm talking about, and I'm happy to. I think it's a difficult time for lots of folks. We're kind of getting back into the swing of things as much as possible. And so I think any little tidbit, even if maybe what I say today doesn't necessarily 100% fit with your organization, I'm hoping that it at least can like get your gears rolling and be like, oh, actually, like I know you said this, but that made me think of this. So hopefully you all can get something out of this, even if it's not exactly what I say. And Michaela, will you keep an eye on the chat if there's questions in there? Okay, cool. So I like to start with like how are we currently recruiting? And from experience and from what I have seen, a lot of groups just try to table on the bridge, host random little coffee events, and they say, come on, join us. You want to be a part of us? Like, come on. Well, that's not working. And yeah, you may get a few people who are already interested in your organization, but that's not going to get the folks that maybe were unaware of what your organization was or what you're doing. And you also might not get the most effective and quality members that way. So that's where we're going to kind of talk today about tips on how to recruit folks, how to train your recruiters, and then how to retain those good members so that you're not just spinning your wheels constantly recruiting. People leave, recruit more, people leave. So that's kind of what we're going to do today. So I think students join organizations for kind of three main reasons. One, because there's like a cause that they're really passionate about, and maybe your organization champions the cause for that, or maybe that's their philanthropy that they work for, or that shared purpose. A sense of belonging, I think that is huge. In fact, I'm going to pick on Blaine. Blaine McVeigh and I were just in a meeting earlier where we were talking about the UMSL students, and they filled out this survey a long time ago. Y'all need to know that. But sense of belonging is actually like way up there on something that students find important and are having trouble with here at UMSL currently. So they want to find that community. They want to find those friends to sit with in the nosh while they're waiting on their cheese sticks or whatever. And then the other one is just to expand their network, find those other people, for maybe their career focus. They want to find those connections to practicums or internships or even potential jobs. And that's all about expanding about who you know and how they can help you moving forward. So with that in mind, it's really important that you and your organizations understand your why. And I'm not going to go too much into this. I'm going to do a little spiel, but this is a main point in my other presentation that I've done. So if you're wanting to show your exec members a little snippet of that other presentation, this is a good part to do. Is that your organizations need to really do some self-reflecting before you bring others into the fold. So why should anyone care about your organization? Why should people come to your event? And what does a member gain from being a part of your organization? And I'm gonna be honest, the Office of Student Involvement is having these same conversations. Like, why should Jane find a babysitter and drive 45 minutes back to campus to attend a hypnotist show on a Saturday night? Like, we're talking about what value are our events adding and why should people care about what we're doing? And I think you and your organization need to start with that, because that's really what you need to lead with. There's national data, there's UMSL data, is that our students and students across the country are really focused on like, I want to be successful, I'm trying to get a job, I'm trying to do all these things, and college is just an avenue to do that. I feel when I'm older than most of you. When I was in college several years ago, I'm not sure if that was the trend for students. I think students were more interested in, I want to stay on campus, get to know people, have this huge social life, where now things are expensive. We're trying to get a job. We're trying to have a job and go to school, or we're trying to get through school to get into the workforce. And maybe those extras aren't as important as they once were. So we need to be able to clearly communicate why people should care about your organization and why they should make it a priority to come to your events and be a part of that. And so I think that really starts with, why does your organization exist? Make sure your current members are all on the same page. And then when you're recruiting other members, that's what you're talking about. I'm obviously a social, fun, I like to eat if you can't tell person. And if you were offering me free cupcakes, I probably would stop by anyway. But you want to be able to communicate, like, why should I come by? They happen to have cupcakes, but also if you come to our event, you're going to meet so-and-so and so-and-so, and this is their position, and they're connected to these people, and they're going to share their story about how the entrepreneur club is new, and that's on the top of my head, and how they started their own business here in St. Louis and how it's going. Like, you need to have that meat on why people want to show up, because we are up against a lot of stuff. We're up against just going home and sitting on the couch because that's important. We're up against grocery shopping. We're up against watching your children or maybe a dependent. We're up against family time. We're up against sleep. We're up against studying. Like, we got a lot to fight against, and we need to make sure that what we're offering is important and adds to value to their life. So let's kind of talk about recruitment. I think that because this is like my wheelhouse, I actually take advantage of, and I take for granted that it comes kind of easy to me. Like, talking is something I enjoy doing. You know, I've had this presentation and I talk about this stuff all the time, but if Michaela was to ask me, hey, Mindy, can you do a presentation on cats tomorrow morning? I'm like, sure. Like, and that's not tough for me to throw things together. That's what I enjoy. I thrive off of that. But someone else might be like, oh my God, what? I need 2 months to prepare. Like, and that's totally fine. And so I think that sometimes our leadership even maybe be more those extroverted folks, or maybe just those extroverted introverts, because I think I'm one of those nowadays. And recruitment maybe like comes easier to us, and we don't remember that that's not everyone's case. I have friends, I have colleagues, I have coworkers who, if I ask to answer the phone, they're like, no. Like, first of all, the phone is scary because you never know what's on the other line. But so I think we need to remind ourselves that recruitment is important. And when I say recruitment, I mean like adding new members. I want to make sure we're all on the same page. So because it's scary, I think it needs to be talked about. We need to all fully understand what the group is doing. We need to train our folks, and we're going to talk about those in just a minute. So the first thing that I have noticed recently with our student orgs, our office, sorry, my teammates that are on here, other offices and departments on campus, is that we're trying to throw together these events last minute just to have it, and we expect people to come. That is not good practice. And I think our office has tried to do a better job, and we're working on it in the spring. Like, your events are going to be more effective if you're organized and you have, I would say, a 2-week leadway between all plans are finalized and your actual event. And I know that is hard for students, but I'm telling you, if you throw an event together and you only give yourself like 2 days, people aren't going to come. And or if they will, it will be for the wrong reasons. It will be because you have, we did like a bear stuffing thing at an event, and people loved that, but like, I don't know if they got out of the event, they just wanted to come for the bear. Like, so you're not going to get the students that actually want to join your organization or to learn more. So you need to make sure that you give yourself time to invite people to those events, follow up with people that you've talked about previously, and you have to be organized for that. I'm going to spit out some dates for you that you probably have heard of or you don't know, but like, if you want to use SABC dollars, which we'll talk about later, you have to submit that request 4 weeks before your event. That's just the request. You have 4, and there's like no wiggle room in that. So that's a month, and that is a long time for students. We totally understand, but there's a couple reasons for that. One, we need that time because there's a lot of red tape we have to jump through. But it's also us hoping that will make you all think a month in advance for your events. I would actually strongly encourage you all now to be meeting as a leadership team, your organization, and kind of planning out what spring looks like. And you don't have to have every detail ironed out, but you can still have some things put in place. I know that's what the Office of Student Involvement is doing. We know when Black History Month kickoff is going to be. We know the date. Maybe we don't know the time yet or the place, but we know the date. We know when the spring involvement jamboree is going to be, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Like, we know those things. Let's go ahead and get it planned out. I'm a visual gal, so we have like a calendar that we put it on, and it kind of helps us stay organized. So that is like the number one tip. If you're going to try to do anything for the spring, you have to be organized, because you also, if you're not organized, my next slide is that you can't communicate effectively. So you need to make sure that you are communicating with your current members so that they are all on the same page. I can't tell you how many student organizations Michaela and I have worked with just in the past 2 weeks that one person comes up to us like, oh, we don't know. And then we talk to one other person. They're like, no, I planned the whole thing. I have all the detail. Like, and that's great that that person's in the loop, but that's not great for the organization when people aren't on the same page and half your people are panicking because they think you're throwing together an event that's not organized. So you need to communicate amongst your own members. And you also need to communicate with those folks that you've built those connections with that may be interested. You're kind of invitees. So if you have tabled on the bridge, you must get contact information. You must have a sign-in sheet at every event. I think that is like rookie mistake of the highest, because it's great if you have 20 people at your event, but if you don't have their names or their contact information, then what was the point? Literally. You have to have a sign-in sheet so that you can then follow up with those folks and be like, hey, Mindy, it's really great seeing you at our Prism prom on Thursday. Prism actually has another event on this day. I'd love if you've come. And then a couple of days before that next event, hey, Mindy, again, it was great seeing you at Prism prom. We have that event tomorrow. How would I meet you outside of the Millennium Student Center a few minutes early and we can walk in together? Like, but if you wouldn't have had a check-in sheet that had my name on it, I think her name was Mindy. I think she works in Office of Student Involvement, like the loud girl in the back. Like, it's tough. So number one rule, it's the easiest thing, throw a piece of paper out there, but you must make sure you catch everyone to get them signed in. Along with communicating is that you must have accurate contact information in your avenues. And I think Michaela is rocking with Triton Connect. Actually, I'm going to give you all props for Triton Connect, because if you've been around a while, we have implemented some other softwares and the transition was not well. It stemmed from our office, but students didn't really buy in. Students are buying into Triton Connect. So, and when students ask us, oh, hey, we're interested, I'm going to put Bob on the spot because I saw him. I'm interested in kind of art stuff. And I think there's an Artist Anonymous group. I literally go to whoever's portal in Triton Connect and look up who they have listed as their president. And hopefully it's Bob. Because yes, we know several of you. And if I had the mental capacity to kind of sit through and think about it, I probably could, but I get lots of emails. So Michaela gets more. And so I'm literally just, hey, that's awesome. We do have this Artist Anonymous group. Check out their portal. Bob is their president. Here's his email. So if you don't have that accurate, that who knows who's getting that email. If you're using social media, one, please make sure that password information is shared somewhere. I have seen so many student orgs, some of them from out of our own office, that have had to create 4 or 5 new profiles just because the translation of the passwords, which we'll talk about transitions later. But you just need to make sure that folks can contact you and that you're contacting them back in a timely manner. I know how frustrating it is when someone emails a question or they're really excited about something and they don't hear back 3, 4, 5 days or ever. And that passion and that enthusiasm is out the window. So communicate effectively with your own folks in your own organization, and then also with those that you've met and built that rapport with. This one I think is kind of a duh, because we think, of course, we're going to train our recruiters, but do we? And I think this kind of goes back to my comment about how recruitment and talking and public speaking and talking to strangers and asking for contact information, that comes easy to some of us, not so much others. And even some of us that are good at it, we still need to know, what should we be recruiting on? What's that why that we should be sharing with folks? Hey, Michaela, what do you want me to be sharing about the Spring Involvement Jamboree right away? Like, you need to make sure that you're sharing the details so that your team's all on the same page and that you know what they're doing if they're tabling for you. Make sure they know what the check-in process looks like. Make sure they know like where we are at in the planning process. Because again, I think some of us take it for granted, our natural abilities, or even just stuff that we've learned, and we need to make sure that all of our members feel valuable and that they are also important to the recruitment process. And I don't think we always take a minute to like step back. I think we normally just say, hey, everybody, we're tabling next Wednesday at the bridge, 10 to 11, who's free? Who can be there? And I get it. But then I think you should get those volunteers, and you should have a little 5-minute combo about, okay, volunteers, here's the plan. Here's what the table should look like. Here's what you should be asking folks when they're walking by. Don't bother them, but like, they're not going to come to you. So make sure you get out behind the table and intermix with the folk. We're going to have a bag of candy. Make sure you hand that out. And make sure there's a clipboard, but like, you just need to make sure that everyone's on the same page, because then that goes back to my first point about it looking organized and seamless. And that's the kind of organization I want to be a part of. If you're looking a mess and like, y'all don't know what you're doing, again, I'm not going to waste my time. Take advantage of the resources that we have here at UMSL. I know I mentioned SABC. Michaela talks about it all the time. You may be tired of hearing of it, but there are $40,000 each semester to give out from this group of student activity fees to help support student organizations in their efforts. But with that, I mean, it's a big responsibility to give out. There's a committee, there has to be some stipulations. So there has to be 4-week leadway. It needs to be an event that's open to mostly UMSL students, and like, it needs to be free. You need to fill out these forms. You have to follow these processes, which do get confusing. We talk about it in our office all the time. There's so many processes here, and there's so many different websites and systems that we don't even like. What? I've been here 5.5 years and I'm still confused about what SSOID I use. I'm like, is it UMSL? Is it system? Is it mail? I just try all of them until one works. Well, we shouldn't expect students to do that. So Michaela has lots of resources on our student involvement YouTube page, specifically about SABC. Because of that 4-week leeway, let's think through this. The first few weeks of school, there won't be 4-week leeway to apply. So there is a special period open right now for those first 4 weeks of school. So we're going to talk about, after this slide, actually, the Spring Involvement Jamboree. If your organization's wanting a table at that, which I hope you do, let's kind of think now, what do we need for that? And let's ask SABC for some funds to buy the candy or to buy the flyers or whatever you need. And, I want you to, we acknowledge that process is tough. I hope that you understand there has to be some, sorry, okay, I just added someone from the waiting room. I hope I did that right. There just has to be some regulations with that. And I know some students get kind of frustrated, and we do too. So one thing to know that for the spring that is new, that we're going to be hard asses on, is that if you get SABC funds, you must record your attendance. And that's for one, to help you all out, because I just talked about you have to do that to follow up. 2, we need that information. We saw this semester that 40 grand blew quick. We've been out for 3 weeks now, and it's just now November. So we need to be able to have data to back our case on why we need more funds for this group. So it's not to punish anyone. It's honestly for your own good, and so that we'll have that data as well. I'm not going to go too much into SABC because it's its own beast, but Michaela has all sorts of resources online. Reservations on campus. So whether that's you're having an event or you're tabling, there are spaces in the Millennium Student Center that are free. Like those small meeting rooms that are up here on the 3rd floor, right across the hall from the OSI. Those house 20, 30 people. That's plenty for a small meet and greet, and you actually get access to that television and the computer included in that reservation. That's free. You can reserve some of our other spaces also for free, but it's the setup and the tech that kind of adds the price. But the Millennium Student Center staff is really trying to help student organizations. Rachel Thompson is the Millennium Student Center guest manager, and she came to SGA last week and kind of walked through that process. That was filmed, and that's also on our YouTube page if you're kind of wanting to see her presentation. Utilize that. Tabling is also free. I think you got to kind of find a time that works for you, but utilize our spaces here. Triton Connect is huge. I've already shoved that down your throat, and I'm sure everyone else has, so I want to move on, but use Triton Connect. OSI and UPB events. This is my biggest tip. When I was in a student org several years ago, I felt like my student organization always felt the pressure to like, no, we must have a recruitment event just for this club, and we have to sponsor it. Well, that takes planning, that takes time and resources, money, where our office hosts, I think I counted the other day that already this month we've had, or already this semester, we've had 69 OSI sponsored events. And University Programming Board, they have the manpower to plan these events. They have the money to plan these events. They have the time. They're employees of our office. Utilize those events. You can have your own event that's like meet up before welcome bash, or hey, we're all gonna meet after this event and go get ice cream. Like, use us to your advantage. Like, now I'm saying our budgets have all gotten cut too, but we still our budgets are still healthy, and we're still planning events that students are interested in. So use us, let us help you. In the same token, our office itself is a resource. Michaela's obviously the content expert in student organizations, but all of the coordinators and myself, like, that's our jobs. Like, we have degrees in like helping students, and y'all, we're not getting paid a lot of money, so we care. So we want to be here. We want you to be successful. Our physical space is also a resource for you. If you haven't been over here in 366 at the Millennium Student Center, we have an awesome space. We have a huge picnic table that can probably seat 15 people. We have multiple small tables. We have booths in the back. Have your little exec meeting here. I may shut my door if you're being too loud or snoring or something, but we expect that. But our space is also a resource. Have your meetings here, meet here as a central location and go somewhere else. You know, our staff here is here to help you as well. Please utilize us. Utilize your classes. Like, when you're trying to think of students to invite to things, I know instructors contact us regularly, like begging us to share because their students need help getting connected. And they'll ask us, we probably presented at some of your classes, but I know if you were to like email them real quick, being like, hey, my student org has this event coming up next week. Do you mind at the beginning of class, I mention it for 3 minutes? I think most of them would be willing to, or be willing to share on the slide or give you some time at the end of class. Talk to folks. One thing that I mentioned in my other presentation is not everyone has to be a for sure joiner that comes to your stuff. You also want the friends of, because friends of Artists Anonymous or friends of Accounting Club are super beneficial, meaning, yeah, I don't want to be an accountant and I don't really want to know about that, but my friend that I've met in FYE, they are, and so I'm going to encourage her to go to the Accounting Club stuff. So like, don't feel defeated if you're like, well, we had 30 people, but none of them were future accountants. That's okay. They're still very important to you and your success. And then off that, use your current members. If, you know, say you have 10 members and each member just brought one new member a year even, that's up to 20. Now next year, you know, if you leave because they graduate, so you have 15. If they bring just one person a year, you're already up to 30. Like, see how it can quickly grow? We just have to make sure we are replenishing those that are graduating or maybe taking a break from college or leaving UMSL. So utilize your current members because they're also a real big resource in your recruitment efforts. On that, Spring Involvement Jamboree is already set. It's Wednesday, January 25th. Michaela, I don't know if you wanted to pop in and chat about it briefly, or if you're going to do it at the end. Looks like you're trying to find something to post somewhere.
Yes, I was grabbing a little link. I've had the link like sitting in the chat, but then I was answering other people's chats. So yes, the sign up link, I'm going to send it right now. This is the first time it's being promoted, pushed out, sent out. So you guys will be like first come, first serve. Definitely have a table. So make sure you fill that out once I hit send on this message. And then if you forget to do it now, or someone else in your organization needs to fill it out for the organization, the Spring Involvement Jamboree is actually already posted as an event in Triton Connect, and the link to sign up for a table is also in the description of that event on Triton Connect. So you can find it on the events calendar as well. I'm going to go ahead and hit send. So feel free to sign up for that.
So that's one of those resources that I mentioned. I don't want you to feel if you can't make it that you're already like, oh gosh, we're doomed. There are other ways. But we really push folks to those type of events. So make sure you're checking that out. I want to make sure I'm being cautious of time. I want to make sure that I make a really big point that retention is almost just as critical, if not more, than recruitment itself. Like I mentioned, it doesn't matter if you keep getting new members if your current members and those new members don't stick around. And there's lots of reasons why folks leave. But here are kind of the 5 R's that I like to use for retention. I do talk about this in the other presentation. Give your folks responsibility. I'm more committed to an organization if I helped plan that prison prom, then I'm going to be there. As if I was just a member that showed up to the one Zoom, I'd rather go somewhere else Thursday night. Enforce requirements amongst everyone. So if you're going to hold certain people to standards, like, hey, everyone needs to be at exec meeting, but you keep letting Susie skip, the ones that do show up, I'm going to be like, what the hell? Like, Susie's not here. I've made the effort to come back to campus and be at this, and so that festers those. Now I don't feel good about the organization. Give out rewards, and in terms of rewards, I'm not meaning like trophies or money. You can even just be doing shout outs. Do social media. If you have a really awesome member or leader that's doing something cool, or maybe did something else, like, send that our way even. Like, I love hearing the cool things our students are doing. And I always send a like, damn girl, I heard you did this. That's great. I don't say that, but basically just like a hype up. Like, I heard you, Joshua in the vet center actually just shared about one of their students winning like a poetry contest. What? Like national, like, that's awesome. And so I shot that student an email just being like, hey, I heard this. That's great. Like, and we all like to feel a little like, yeah. So they don't have to be monetary type of rewards. Assign someone a role model, especially these new members. If you've been in presentations I've done or saw me at orientation, I like to use the term that I need to trademark, accountability buddy. And I think that's just a mentor-mentee kind of relationship that you formally commit, like, Michaela, you are my accountability buddy and I am yours. And if I'm feeling some sort of way, I'm going to talk to you. And if you're feeling some sort of way, you're going to talk to me. And if I'm going to go check out this new student organization, I'm going to ask if you want to go. And if you're going to go to this UPB event, you're going to ask me, just so there's someone that you've already built that connection with. And that's easy. They don't have to be best friends. It's just someone to kind of hold them accountable. And wow, Michaela invited me to this. I feel like someone's looking out for me. And that just helps build relationships, which is also one of the reasons why people join student organizations. So make them feel valuable, because they are, and be checking out on each other. If you haven't seen one in a while, like, we're also just people. We're all trying to get by. It's been tough. So I am like scratching to like fall break. So, or whatever this break is that's coming up. I don't even know what it's called, but it's just been tough. So look out for one another. We're people. I want to put a plug in for transitions. If we were in a big lecture hall right now, I'd be like, who here did not get any training from your past leadership? Maybe you were handed a stack of binders, and I can guarantee 90% of the room's hand would raise. That is so disheartening, because there's good work happening. And I hope you all can empathize that good work is happening. Then there's no transition. Then the poor incoming leadership and members, they're just already 10 steps back. They got to spend the first month and a half of their reign like learning the ropes. Where if you would have just effectively transitioned, had a retreat, had things laid out, organized, documents in a shared folder, they could have just already been so much more successful instead of spinning their wheels trying to get caught up. So I believe the last Wise Up Wednesday of the semester is on the 30th. Blaine McVeigh is hosting that, and it's going to be about effective transition. So really take that to heart. And for those of you that weren't transitioned well, remember how that felt. Like, that was frustrating, I'm sure. Like, and you probably felt, wow, I wasted a lot of time trying to get caught up when we could have been doing so many things. So remember that and try to do better for the next folks. Because transitions is like, I have seen them bad. And then groups can't gain traction that way if you're constantly spending 6 weeks after every leadership change catching up. So transitions are very important, and something that, because I get it. You've been the president for a year, you're over it. Bye. Just hold on for one more day and transition the next people well, please. We're begging you, literally. So that's kind of all I had today. I did mention a few times that I have presented on a similar topic several other times that maybe goes into a little more nuts and bolts on what you should be training your recruiters on, some tips on how to table, some examples of some casual recruitment events you can host, and that is recorded on our YouTube page. Feel free to just forward do the stuff that you want. But I appreciate you being here, and we are always here to help. I put my email address, but I also check the student involvement email. And I know sometimes, what was her name that was presenting? It's like on the tip of my tongue. Like, it's tough to remember all these people. Student involvement's easy to remember, and it will get to someone who can answer your question. So very happy that you all were here. And honestly, I'm feeling like the tides are changing. I know I just mentioned that I was like dragging and needed a break, but it's still exciting seeing the excitement in students. And you know, they had an open house this Saturday, and there's prospective students that are excited to come here, and UMSL truly is like changing lives, and we want to make sure that you all have a good experience. So Michaela, was there anything in the chat that I needed to chat about, or were you able to cover that?
I think I got everything. I did want to shout out this message Bob sent when we were talking about reservations, because I think it gets forgotten a lot. If you are planning to have an event that is out of the normal building hours of the Millennium Student Center, you will also have to pay an hourly fee for the people that have the building open, because we have to pay our staff to have the building open. So the Millennium Student Center hours Monday through Thursday are 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and on Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So after 5 p.m. on Friday, all the way until 7 a.m. on Monday, you would be paying an after hours fee. So just keep that in mind. Thank you, Bob, for the reminder. I put the link to the OSI YouTube page in the chat. It's also linked underneath on our Triton Connect portal for student involvement. On the right-hand side where it has like a little bit of information, there's like those social media links. If you click the YouTube logo, it will take you right there as well. So if you lose the link, it's always there. But those were all the chats that were the questions that didn't, well, the things that needed shouted out, and all the questions got answered as far as I can tell. So I think we're good. Thanks everyone for being here, sticking with us. We know you've probably heard this presentation before, but I think it's a good reminder as we approach each new semester of what we can maybe do better, what we've already been doing that maybe we need to pivot a little bit because it's not going well, things like that. So yeah.
Awesome. How do we take attendance, Michaela? Have you done that already?
Yep. So we just send a little Google form link, and I went through and double checked, and everyone filled it out that was in here. So thank you all for doing that. And then I will be sending out an email to the people that have like now officially completed 3. So that email will either go out later this afternoon, well, in the next hour and a half, or tomorrow. And then yeah, that's everything.
There's Blaine on the video.
Yeah.
Hi, Blaine. You can wave.
Hi, Blaine.
That's
We'll
our
see you at the next Wise Up Wednesday.
Yeah. Our new student experience coordinator. So
yes. All right. Well, you all are free to go. If you have questions for me or Mindy, feel free to stay on and we can get those answered for you.